My name's Sasha Pete, and I'm joined by a fantastic individual, somebody who is being described as having the simplicity of one two-touch football. This man was a destroyer on the pitch. He scored goals for fun. I'm joined none other than the great Max Tolson. Welcome, Max.
Thank you, Sasha. How are you?
So it's a real honour and a privilege to be speaking with you today, sir. So I was just recently speaking with Rale Rasic, and he has the utmost respect for you as an individual, and I'm super excited to be to having this conversation with you today. But tell me, Max, how did you fall in love with our great game?
Well, probably around the 7 or 8 years of age, we moved from Lismore, the floods. So we moved to Wollongong, lived with my grandparents, and we call it the park in Lismore, the football ground, which was rugby league. Gran took me down there, and they're playing this strange game with a round ball. And as a kid does, you sort of creep closer and closer to the line. And the guy said, "Would you like a game?" Of course, yes. Put me on the wing. Can you play wing? I can play wing. The ball came to me. I picked it up. And I took off and put it down over the line. No one touched me. No. This is called soccer. So that was my introduction to soccer, and I thought, this is good. You don't get hurt doing this.
Oh, that's hilarious. What a story. So you obviously thought it was you were playing rugby or union or league or whatnot, and okay.
Yeah, it started off like two teams are playing, chasing this ball around, and I'm thinking, pick it up. So, but you're a kid. You get closer and closer, and so that was my introduction to as we call it today in this country, soccer. Too much.
Yes. So, and when did you first play? So this is as a 7 or 8 year old. So when did you first start playing? Did you play in a school team or a club side? When did you first start playing for a proper team?
Yeah, well, it was Balgownie. That was Balgownie. It was so I trialled, and I made I think it was the under 8s. Okay. So we went every second year, 8s, 10s, 12, 14. There was no 16 for me. I think I went straight to 3rd grade. So that was my introduction.
Oh, fantastic! And this is how you fell in love with our game. So the whole Wollongong area has had some fantastic footballers that come through that area. Obviously, you being one of them. You lived in that area for a long time?
Yeah, well, the whole family were grandparents. There was Tolson Street, there was Maxwell Street. The whole family lived there in Bulgaria.
So, and fantastic. Do you remember when you said as a 16-year-old you went to play against men?
Yeah, I think they were calling for a 16-year-old for 3rd grade for South Coast United. And I think I was 15 at the time. And I wasn't aware of that. Dad just asked me, would you like to go on trial? And of course, yeah, why not? Yeah, I can do that. I'd like to do that. So luckily, I made it. So it was good.
So obviously, South Coast, fantastic club. You're playing as a boy. I mean, like a 15 or 16-year-old playing even 3rd grade. You're playing against people twice your size. That's a big introduction to our game. Do you have fond memories of your time there at South Coast?
Yeah, of course. I mean, as far as it was so amateur. It was all I dreamed about every weekend. Every week, I just wanted to play. As we call football, I just wanted to play football, and I was playing with people, 2 and 3 years older than me, but at midfield at the left side there's It was great. It was great.
And you gravitated to the front of the pitch where you had the opportunity to score goals. Did you love scoring?
Oh, I think everyone does, especially when it's a winner or you win the game. Yeah, I mean, you asked Oddie Bonnie about scoring goals. No one could put a finger on that guy when he scores a goal. You can't catch him to congratulate him.
Yes, another fantastic footballer, obviously, of your generation. So, and you played, you made the first grade side, I think, in '63 when you're coming up to 17 or 18 years old. Do you remember?
Yeah, I just touched 18. Guy named Jimmy Kelly.
Yes.
This came to us on a Tuesday night because the reserve grade, we were called reserve grade in those days, trained with the first grade. And he just called me over and he said, "You're playing first grade the weekend." Well, I was like, never ever dreamt about it. I mean, after that, the reserve grade game, I was straight into the showers, get in there, get out, so I could watch these men playing.
Yes.
So, and I don't think I responded by saying anything that day. He just said, "You're playing good." And he said, we have lunch before the game, and you will wear a collar and tie and a jacket." I didn't have one. I mean, my whole week's wages was £5 at that time, and that cost 2 weeks' wages. And I was so concerned about losing the money. And the other problem was getting into the dressing sheds without my mates seeing me dressed up like that. Turn up in ragged jeans, thongs, and he said, "You will come looking like a footballer. You might never be one, but you'll always look like one." So, but it grows on you. You think, I can get used to this.
Yes, brilliant. I love it. So you've gone on to save a penny or two throughout your working life. Obviously, man who's very conscious, even as a 17-year-old. You're talking a 17, 18-year-old about looking at your pennies. So we'll touch about that in a later stage. So you're playing at South Coast. You're in with Jimmy Kelly. Obviously, Peter Wilson's also from the same area. He played with you at South Coast. How was it like growing up? Later, the two of you ended up playing in the Socceroos together.
Well, I mean, playing for the Socceroos or anyone is great. But yeah, Peter was a different beast. He came along quiet. This was many years later, but yeah, Peter came along, long hair, big, solid guy. His dialect, his Pommy accent was hard to grasp to start with, and Peter grew on you. Peter wasn't a talker. He wasn't a bragger. But you soon knew that maybe you've got his attention. He's leaning towards you as a friend and things like that. And of course, it just grew. It just grew. And Peter was he was an amazing guy.
Yeah. You actually went and did a stint overseas. You left South Coast. You left Australia to head overseas to have a kick with Worthington. How did that?
Well, that was Kelly. I mean, you talk about Kelly. He's a great man. I always say I had three great men in my life. Of course, my father, Jimmy Kelly. I was young. I looked up to him. He'd retired playing for Matthew Stanley Matthews. He played at Liverpool there, and so. And then I had, the other guy came along. I can't think of his name. Oh, the boss, Rale, of course. So I had three great men in my life, but Kelly was a big influence on me.
Yes.
Rale always says he spoiled you, but I didn't know that at the time or realize that. But Kelly was a professional. I mean, he was unbelievable, and I was a kid, so all I did was listen. And the position I played in that time when he put me there was, I can do this forever in the left side in midfield with all these good players. I couldn't believe my life. I mean, I was probably earning about 10 quid a week or 8 quid a week in butchering for 60 hours and only 20 quid a week for a game of football. I was a rich guy in Wollongong.
I love it. And what are the other lessons that you learnt from Jim? What were the other things that you remember that really you took with you for your whole life?
Oh, that bit he said to me, it always stuck with me for the rest of my life. You might never be a good footballer, and I'm not saying I was, but you will always look like one. So that carried with me. And I was probably a loner. I mean, I think I managed early on. I was in the paper every day. We were winning every match. So, a young kid comes along. So this was good. Yeah. This was good. And financially, it was amazing the money that what people would say was peanuts. But in those times, it was great money. Plus, it didn't hurt having your photo in the paper 3 or 4 times a week with the ladies.
Oh, I love it, Max. Yeah, that's fantastic. And so the obviously you're in God's country playing in the South Coast.
Was.
So God's country, and now you're off to Worthington in the freezing cold. What was the difference of like playing football?
Let me tell you, to this day, I still don't understand. I mean, I was young. They say dumb, but I was young and I was led. I think why he there, because this is how much we were close. How he took the assistant manager on, you would call it today, and he went back in life. Down the ladder, went right back in life to do this. I didn't realize it at the time. And Worthington was not the big town, but it was a coal miners' town. It was a merchant port, pretty rough area, and it was 3rd division. Even though I even struggled there in stages playing for the club. And I didn't grasp it enough at the time, but I went there as a striker. And I wasn't a striker. I scored a goal the first game. I had a terrible game. The ground was frozen. I couldn't feel my feet. I scored a goal with 10 minutes to go. We won 1-0, and the papers was all me. I was talking to the guy because they travel with you back and forth, the reporters, and he said you did well. And I said you're different game to I was. He said all you got to do is a striker to score goals, but you still want to. So that lasted for a while there, and I was dropped back a bit. So it was up and down, but it was a great experience.
Fantastic. And you returned back to the God's country there at
Kelly left. Yeah. Kelly, mind you, after he left, I started to get a bit better a run, and we were about 2nd in the league, and there was talk of getting
promoted,
going up, and you got for the first 10, I think you got place money. So it was 19 quid a week or 19.5 pounds, but bear in mind the people who work for the government on the trains and the buses were about 12, 13 quid a week. And then bonuses, crowd bonuses. So we're probably bringing in 50 odd quid a week, which was, for me, and I was stacking away as well. But, it didn't last that long. We only had a group of about 15 players, so injuries and that, so that faded. It looked like we gone up into second division, but I was getting homesick by then.
And you returned back, obviously, back to South Coast United, obviously, where your boyhood club and play there for a number of other years. This is your time where, obviously, eventually, Peter's in your team now.
Earlier than that, when I came out, was Jimmy Harris, who was a player when I was a kid. I came into the team. He was coach, and of course, it stuck me up the front.
Yep.
And wasn't the deal when I came back. I mean, I'd had enough of striker. I mean, if I'd have had the pace of Adrian Alston and Bonnie and things like that, things would have been different.
Yeah.
I'd have been a different player, I suppose, up the front. You need pace up there, as well as other things. You need pace, or you're dead. And so, yeah, you've got to play there. Well, I didn't stand my ground, so I was a striker. I'm a striker. That's it. What you see is what you get, as Rale would say.
This is football at its finest. So that you always you were able to listen to instructions. Rale say you were able to listen to the instructions and deliver them to a T. You said that you were probably the most astute and smartest player in your simplicity, and the way in which you played was very clever, and you always were able to stamp your authority on a game.
Oh, I love that guy. I love that. I love Rale. He talks like that. I love it.
Yes, so that's the point. So he sees you and Peter Wilson from South Coast and makes a decision to sign you for Marconi.
Yeah.
So obviously you're the dynamic duo who is going to go across to do a job for him. He's going to build his whole team around you two, these two signings, and you were able to do a job for him that year.
Yeah, I mean, it takes years to be in Rale's company to understand how he works. You think he's just getting players, but he knew who he wanted, and he usually got who he wanted. But it was funny that day. I don't know how it came about that Peter and I did travel up somewhere between around Sutherland. We met Rale at a park somewhere, and I was in his company on and off a bit, and you get to listen. You would listen to him. You were fooled if you didn't listen when he was talking. But I said to Peter, "Be smart. You're negotiating a contract. Be smart. Do not commit because he needs the two of us. He needs the two of us. Do not commit, right? Please. He is the national coach, so do not commit." I sit in the car. He calls Peter over first. They go for a wander back. Peter comes back, said, "How you going? You happy?" He said, "Yeah, I've told him I agreed." You idiot. You idiot. Where does that put me? My negotiating. Where does that? I told you we were strong to negotiate together. He separated us. I didn't realize. I don't know what I negotiated at the time, but I was glad to go there. I was glad to go there, but what a shock! What a shock! I found out about Rale a bit from Adrian, and he didn't tell me too much. But it was Adrian came to me one day and said, "Rale wants you to come to the squad and train." That was a big shock. My first contact with him was unbelievable.
Yeah, you want to care to say what happened?
We travelled up to, I think it was ES Marksfield for training, and I thought I was seriously fit. I mean, I didn't drink or smoke. I didn't stay out too late, especially from Thursday night onwards. It was all football. So, but the first 10 minutes of warming up, I was gasping for air, and Adrian was watching me because he knew what was going to happen. He'd have gone through it, and he's looking at me, and we're doing our exercise, and I think, how can you be so? Who is this guy? But I said, who is this? Who is this guy? And Rale did not look at me or anything or welcome me in the squad. I was just there. I think he said hello. That was it. That was a massive introduction to this fellow. He's amazing.
Obviously got you fit by the end of the season, so you guys have made the final now, and you're playing St. George, and it's the
unwinnable game.
So it's a corner kick, and Jimmy Fraser's in goal, and you go up.
No, that's wrong. They've always spoke about corner kick. It was a Ray Richards special. Ray Richards could throw it first, and then you could bloody kick it into the penalty area. So yes, we did have a corner kick, and it was Ray Richards. It was a throw-in.
Okay.
So and we're standing there. He's getting ready. He's getting ready, and I'm sort of nudging against Jimmy Fraser on the first post. Manfred comes along. Of course, Manfred's always in my hip pocket wherever I went. Adrian walks up to him and said, "Manny, I'll take him." And of course, Manny had a job to do, and so he declined that, told him to buzz off. Ray threw it, a little nudge on Manfred first, so I get up first in the corner of the net, but I think I heard Jimmy, my good friend Jimmy, and we talk about this so much, and I don't want to hear it. My ball, well, maybe it was in the net.
So this is interesting. So the story goes, Max, that you accidentally put your elbow in his head whilst you got that header on to put that goal in, right? And he comes chasing after you, saying tither and tather and saying a few choice words, and you replied back saying what?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was laughing. It was always the same. Jimmy would let loose every now and again. We didn't play against each other a lot, but it was always the occasion in one of the games he would verbally lose it. And I was greatly shocked because I was offended by that sort of language. And I could never take it serious. He pushed me around a little bit. Don't you worry.
Yeah, yes. All right. So header, goal, 1-0, elbow in the head. Max Tolson finished the game. Happy days. You guys win the game. Fantastic.
The unwinnable game. I think St. George had about 7 internationals in the team.
Yes.
So it was. I don't think anyone, only Rale believed that we could win, and there was a few on the team that had doubts. You could see it during the week. It was a big build up.
And that year, Rale bought you for a few thousand off South Coast, and then the boys at obviously you finished with Marconi, and the boys at Safeway United came knocking and to buy you. Obviously the fee now is a lot bigger than what it was because you've just done the job at Marconi and you've had to go do a job over there.
Uh, yeah, it was going backwards. I was going backwards big time there, but there was family.
Mm.
Um, Raleigh was so hard. We were traveling 3 days a week, working, family. It was hard. Where did I want to stay? I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to stay there, but I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was just so much.
And in this time, you're now in the same time you're playing club football, you're also playing a bunch of games for Australia, lead-up games, the camps. You're playing a lot of football and you're training the house down. I want to talk about a couple of games where you were involved in all three. Tell me about the Bulgarians. I'm talking about 1973. That game in Sydney, it was 2-2. They were a tough lot. They really, obviously,
They were brutal boys. I mean, they were only fast, strong, physically strong. I mean, it. I think it was fair to say the lights weren't their best at that ground at that time, and I took a lot of punishment. These guys, I was playing hard, but I've never played against physically players as strong as those guys. It was unbelievable.
So you said you were playing hard. I heard you provoked them, mate. I heard that you went out there to provoke them, and they all hated you. So what was the story there?
Well, of course, I couldn't speak Bulgarian, but it wasn't, you pick it up pretty quick that you're a target straight away. And they would have done their homework, I'm sure, that, who was playing it and that, because I think at the time, on the international level, they were quite up there as top teams in the world. I don't think they expected such a physical game from us, but that was part of my. For me to survive, I had to be physical. As I say, I didn't have the touch of Adrian. I didn't have the touch of a lot of the other boys, and I certainly didn't have the pace. And that showed up quite a lot of those. But in that game, Ray Bartz was having a great game. We were holding our own, just. It was a great result. I think it was 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2 in Sydney. Yeah, you lost the games. You lost the games in Melbourne and Adelaide. But I mean, look, Bulgaria is Bulgaria, right? So it's, I think, an honourable result and good lead up to the World Cup. So you also, I want to also shift gears. You started in the game against Iraq. And you were playing as a starter. That result was 0-0. And you started for the first 70 minutes, and then you were substituted off after 70 minutes. And
in Melbourne.
Yeah. Yes. And what, as you've come off, what are you thinking now? You've come off and you've gone to the boss and said,
No. I don't think I went to the boss because I don't think I'd ever got a game again if I'd have said what I felt. Not so much to him, but I understood 100% why he took me off. I think we only needed a draw at that time to get to the next stage. But it was a tight game, and my father had gone down to watch this match, and Rale took me off, and I was quite involved, and I thought I hadn't scored, but I was happy with my game. There was a couple of chances, and I thought that I was taking a lot of pressure off other players up there, and that was right. And then next minute I got a tap on the shoulder. Rale wants you off. Well, I knew why. I knew you bring. I forget who he brought on, but you stabilise the midfield. Then we've got this game in the bag. It's about a result, not about you're having a good game, Max. You can stay on. So I understood that. But walking off, I'm an Australian. Walking off, and I don't care who you are, where you come from. If you're Australian, you are Australian. And I understand that, blood thick and water, you come from somewhere else, but you're an Australian now. But I got a pretty rough deal coming off there myself, personally, because I'm an Australian. So there was a lot of people there, and there was a lot of things said and that, and I wanted to get up in the stand and go berserk with a lot of them. And I gave him the middle finger, and I went straight off, which is not a good look for the person, for Rale. And I knew I'm in trouble. I said, I'm in serious trouble now. No, I didn't care. Really, I didn't care. And Noddy came in after quick, and he said, "Oh, that looks so. Rale's going to go. Oh, he's going to kill you." And I said, I was in the shower. I said, "Anyone comes in here, I'm going to knock them out. Anyone, I don't care. You don't do that to Australian." I was so hurt, but obviously he saw it, and the crowd. When I gave him the middle finger, the crowd really went and gave it to me. But so I walked straight off, and you just don't do that. I mean, you're lucky you get your shirt back again. You do those things, but I didn't throw it. That was a bigger mistake.
Yeah. So Raleigh just said he took you off because you were tired, and he needed somebody else.
He never explains, which is, he doesn't have to. He's the boss. He never. But I knew why. I wasn't tired. He brought a midfielder on and let whoever was still up front bring another striker on. I'm not quite sure if I think he brought Jimmy Rudy on. I'm not quite sure. I think it was just, okay, let's the midfield tighten it up. We just don't need a goal against us in the last 10 minutes, and we're through to the next stage.
So tell me, Max, were you the type of player that was not fussed by the occasion? So whether it was on a park in Wollongong or playing in Hamburg or playing in Baghdad, it didn't really matter where you were playing. You were going to just play the game of football?
No, not really. I mean, there's the bigger the occasion, the more pressure.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes you're going to play a game. You don't get so wind up, because really, you've got this game. You can do this. Okay, there might be an upset here again, but this is it. And then, of course, more important games, the more meetings. The more important games higher, the more meetings from Rale. I mean, drive you crazy. So it's always ramped up. The more the important game, the more meetings, the more pressure.
So tell me about the time that you've gone in and you've collected the I think it was the Iranian. It's the game in Tehran, and there's 90,000 or 100,000 screaming screaming Iranians there, and
there's so many versions there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you tell me what versions you've heard.
So apparently there's 90,000 or something Iranians there screaming down. U11 Aussies standing to the national anthem. How did it feel being in Iran and wearing the green and gold and listening to our national anthem?
Well, it's the same every game for me. It was always the same for me every game. One of the things I used to think that how happy Dad is. Not that I played many games for Australia, so And when I did, there's people. He was a coal miner. The people he worked with, would be asking him how did Max go, Norman? Went well, Norman this and Norman that. So Dad was he was so proud and that. So the national anthem, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. It gets you, but you've done your homework with Rale, if you're listening. It's not so much then. It's not so much the national anthem. It's more that he's been in your head for a week and over, because this guy is crazy with bloody team meetings. Everyone in the squad will tell you, oh, Christ. Peter used to say, oh, that bastard, another team meeting. That bastard. So you would go back over and over and all the scenarios. See, Raleigh was a coach, a manager. He was a manager, 100%. They say he was a coach. Who was the best coach? He was a manager. He managed everything. He managed the doctors, the physiotherapists, everything else. He managed the other team sometimes. He managed Sir Arthur George. And Sir Arthur George didn't realise it. So, yeah, it's all going through your mind. It's flashing, and then you get on with it. And you're hoping I have a good game. No, and so I was always just get on first was a luxury for me, So it was always nervous.
So there's a situation where you've come crashing in to a couple of to the goalkeeper and a couple of centre backs. So by all reports, you should have got a card, maybe even been sent off. You apparently came in so hard, and so Raleigh says he starts running on the pitch, and he says, "Get down, you bastard," and then proceeded to put his studs on your arm.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. But first, how did he know I was a bastard? I knew that, but how did he know? But it was surprised he was there. But no, I thought I was safe because I always try to get up first. You get up first, you're the lead player. You get up before the goalkeeper and he gets hurt, he's coming up into me. That's you go up after. Obviously you're collecting him. But look, you're sitting on the bench after 20 minutes or so, you're 2-0 down. You don't want to be sitting beside Raleigh. Not that he's a guy you could never read his face, but you could how he'd be hurting, how he'd looking at turn this around. So I'm sitting there beside him and I'm thinking 2-0 down. Do I want to go on? Because I knew I'd be going. I felt I'd be going on at some stage, but not at half time. So as soon as the bell rang, he grabbed my hair and yanked my head back, and he just said, "Warm up." And that look and that stare, I thought, "Yeah, thanks." So the adrenaline started running then, and I didn't understand why we weren't playing well as a team and putting ourselves under pressure, because we just weren't. And it's easy for me to say from there, sitting on the bench, because there's no pressure there.
Yeah.
So the pressure was on the guys, but they just weren't. It just wasn't there. So I can't remember what instructions was, but out we went. And you can imagine how I felt. If we don't come off with the best result here, meaning win, we don't have to score a goal, but we can still come off winners. And that was all that was through my mind. And once again, I go back to, I don't think skill is going to win. It's just going to be maybe
willpower,
opportunity. I've got to, and Adrian will say, "Yeah, I had a terrible game." He didn't get a great lot of support. to be fair. So, and Adrian wasn't a player that would like to put his body in places too much, but he had so much skill and pace. So I was a different player. So I put myself around, and I thought it was work. And as you say, Rale talks about that collision. It was an accidental collision in my that did happen. You know, we all went down, and I think maybe that might have picked the boys up. And that I remember him coming out, and what's he doing here, and why are you doing that? And but it was all a blur for me the last half.
Yeah. So fantastic. So the you were the type of footballer that got the best out of yourself, and you would always push yourself to the limit. And even where times where you probably shouldn't have played or couldn't have played, you went on. Just before the '74 World Cup, you were ill. You had the mumps, and you thought maybe you shouldn't go. Maybe you shouldn't go. What was it like for that?
That was a killer. My son had caught the mumps, and I wasn't aware of whether I'd had the mumps or not. But obviously, an adult male, if you hadn't had the mumps, it goes to your testicles. It does. And no, I'm okay. And you know, it was only probably 2 weeks before we were leaving. And and of course that happened. I won't go into all of it, but I thought, oh God, yeah, this is unbelievable. This can happen now. So Adrian gave me the message: you've got to be in camp, otherwise you're out. So, and I knew I couldn't do any physical except run. And I was in absolutely a lot of pain. And Brian Corrigan, our doctor at the time, he would have known, but he didn't come near me. I didn't understand it. I did the physical stuff. Raleigh didn't involve me in any games. I just did the physical stuff and whatnot. And then they said I've got to go down for a physical interview, which was annoying. I had to go back way down Wurrunga way somewhere when I thought the doctor was already there, but I had to go to his office. And virtually within 5 minutes, Brian was doing the small talk, but he knew I was gone as far as he was concerned, doing the small talk. And he'd ruled me out before, many years ago, when I tore a cartilage. And we were going to, I think the national team was going to South Africa. So I was pretty pissed off with that. But, you know, I thought I got over the line. He put me through some certain exercises, but I failed one and I was out. So he didn't examine me or anything. He knew I was still hemorrhaging a little bit. He said, I've got to rule you out. I absolutely tore strips off him. I called him all the names under the sun. It was and he just sat there and took the whole lot. The second time, and it was unbelievable. I can do this. I will be. You know me. I will heal before. And he says, my job is now. And he said, you're out. So, you know, I think I shed a tear. Went back to camp. Did not want to talk to anyone. Didn't talk to Peter. We always stayed in the same room. Peter didn't ask me. Didn't talk to him. So I'm waiting for a tap on the shoulder. Nothing happened. There was a meeting the next day, I understand, between Sir Arthur George and the whole management, the physiotherapist as well. So anyhow, I hung around and nothing happened. And I bumped into the physiotherapist a little bit about 3 days later, and he said, Peter Van Ryn, he said, I can't speak his dialogue, his tongue was, but he said, something, he loves you. I said, what do you mean? And he told me that Sir Arthur George asked him the question about me, and he said, no, he's not fit, he can't go. And Sir Arthur George apparently said to Rale, once again, he said to Rale, well, you need to get another player. And Rale, from what I understand, from how I hear it went as well, no, he goes, because if I bring someone else in now, it's a holiday. Who hasn't earned that holiday? What words he said about maybe what I'd helped to do through the stages of eliminating, and that maybe that got us over the line. But whether it was me or anyone else, it made sense.
Yeah. So from what I understand, Max, is that Rale rated you as the best impact player that he has ever seen or ever coached, would give you a 9.5 out of 10 as that impact player. So if he needed you to do a job for the last 10 or 20 minutes, he said that that's what he wanted out of you, and he knew that you could execute that and that you would do it to the impeccable order. You would follow instructions and stamp your authority to do a job. That was your job in the team. So I had to tell you that today.
Yeah, well, I've never heard that before, but that's nice. That's nice.
And for me to hear these stories and to then share these stories with others who will listen to them, I hear it with them a great admiration and the greatest respect. And you served our country proud and did your best. And I've got the greatest admiration for all the boys who served in the 74 World Cup squad. Obviously, our first squad to make a World Cup, I think you did an impeccable job leading up to those games and then in those games. So thank you very much for your contribution to Australian football.
Thank you. I'll just touch on this. What you just said, the first World Cup, that makes this guy, Rale, Australia's best manager ever. I mean, when you take the championships he's won in Victoria, here, and then the unwinnable, the unachievable, qualifying for the 74 World Cup, the unachievable, because he was pulled into the office there for interview, and I don't believe that they thought he could do the job anyhow. It's just another one in the chain of another failure. They weren't ready for this man. And if you finish your football career and you've been in his company on and off, like I have, if you don't come out a better person than when you started, you're not listening. His mind is unbelievable. When he's on another planet. So, but I still will never forgive him till he says sorry.
This is yeah, I understand. Can I say today's been an absolute pleasure, Max Tolson. I wouldn't have wanted to be a centre half. Most centre halves like to kick the strikers, but I wouldn't want to be a centre half against you. So I take my hat off to you, sir. You are a gentleman, and thank you very much for your contribution to Australian football.
Tell him when I talk business to him about that, it's to stay with him and me. Don't let it out. Okay, happy days.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Max.
Bye-bye.